here. So I don't, oh, sorry. Yeah, we're going to be recording this for folks who weren't able to make it moving forward, since that is going to be the portion where we answer a lot of questions and just talk about what we're doing. So again, I talked a little bit about who I am. Yeah, I'm here. I've been in this role for 2 years now. Yeah, I think a little over 2 years now. I love it. I love my job here. I love what we do. I love that we get to be in community. I love that we get to wear a lot of different hats. I know for some people, that might be a little overwhelming, but I personally love being able to kind of share what I like to think is expertise in different spaces. So yeah, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Kaya to talk a little bit about who they are.
Yeah, I mean, hi everyone. I know we just did a little bit of introductions, but I've been with Jess since last August. I'm actually wrapping up my internship, so you'll likely not be seeing a lot of me, but I graduated from USC in December with my bachelor's and am now in Boston for my master's. But I've loved working with this team. Like, honestly, they're fantastic, and I think there's so much to learn and experience. So if you have curiosity, I think this is a great place to start.
And needless to say, we're very proud of Kaya. Yeah, so much under her belt and just so much to look forward to. And just a little bit about the rest of the team. So we have Ari and Lou, who are more than welcome to speak a little bit about their roles, especially as it pertains to Out Against Big Tobacco, and just some of the other folks that we get to work with as a part of California LGBTQ Health and Human Services Network. And just to kind of share the relationship between that, we are a program under the Project of California LGBTQ Health and Human Services Network. So that's kind of the relationship there. And Lou or Ari, if you wanted to speak a little bit, you're more than welcome to as well.
Yeah, I don't mind going. So yeah, hi again, Lou, he, they pronouns. And I'm with the California LGBT Human Services Network as a network organizer. I do a lot of a lot of the colleagues like to call me a conganizer because I do a lot of communications work. Um, and I usually do a lot of creating the education materials or attending Jess to some events. So I might see you in some of those events. Also helping Jess a lot with, uplifting these events or coming to these events and being a support wherever she needs me. So I'm excited to work with some of y'all, possibly, potentially, and getting to know more of you. So I'll leave that there and I'll pass it over to Ari if she wants to share anything about herself too.
Hi, all. Yeah, and I'm also with the network and help oversee a lot of our communications projects for all of the programs that we host at the network. We also do a lot of advocacy at the state level. So working closely with our partners all throughout California. I know Quality California is definitely a close partner of ours, and have worked with other folks throughout the state. We do more than just tobacco prevention, although because we know that, there's a lot of at stake happening right now towards our communities and various attacks on all different fronts. So working to protect gender affirming care in California, of course, is our current uphill battle. And although it's legally protected, there's still just a lot happening, at the federal level there. So we're working towards making those different policy and implementation at the state level to help really improve our access to healthcare as queer and trans Californians. But yeah, you'll definitely see me engaged in some of these meetings here and there. Always welcome, any ideas for brainstorming new educational materials, other ways to engage with, our communities, because we know tobacco and nicotine are maybe not the number one most pressing issue that we're all facing right now, but it is definitely still an issue that we, want to be there to support our communities with. But yeah, that's all I'll share there. I'll leave my email in the chat as well if folks, want to reach out or have any other questions about what we do.
Thanks, Ari. And then I think just to kind of add a little bit on there towards the end is I think The piece about our work is that we get to especially work through like an equity and queer lens. And so when you have that lens on through tobacco prevention work, we do get a lot of opportunities to speak about the social drivers. And I think that's kind of at the pinpoint of what is not the pinpoint, but definitely an intersectional issue that we get to speak about considering everything going on. So yeah, and so much more than just tobacco prevention, I think, through these programs that we get to work on. I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to Kaya to speak a little bit about our mission and vision.
Yeah, thank you, Jazz. So Out Against Big Tobacco has two main things that we do as far as mission and values. First, our biggest goal is to eliminate tobacco-related health disparities and to achieve health equity for LGBTQ plus folks in LA County. Specifically, that's just the county that we work in. We have two specific jurisdictions within San Fernando and Signal Hill. And then the second part is more community-based to just communicate, engage, and positively impact the health and overall community of LGBTQ plus folks through tailored resources, advocacy, policy, whatever you can think of, we're probably trying to do it. So some of the goals that we specifically have related to that are...
Sorry, and then just a disclaimer. While we are contracted to do specific work in San Fernando and Signal Hill, we do work in all of LA County.
Yep. Yes, totally. But just a couple of the specific goals that we've been working on. Obviously, there's more in the scope of work, but the bigger ones are adopting and implementing a comprehensive TRL in either San Fernando or Signal Hill, ideally both. But that's still something we're working up towards. And then the other part is just engaging diverse individuals and organizations in tobacco prevention advocacy work. So that can be whether tabling at specific events, we table at a lot of Pride events, for example, or just hosting different webinars or engaging as a speaker at different events or conventions. We're just really interested in engaging the community in multiple different ways to increase intersectionality and impact that we can have across the board. So kind of touching on that, for what we do specifically, we do a lot of educational material development. We also do a lot of research through public service perception surveys. So perceptions about tobacco, how LGBTQ plus folks view tobacco use or engagement among their communities, whether or not they think a tobacco retail license or tobacco control would be beneficial, or just their overall perception. It helps us a lot with data and analysis and understanding kind of where our community's at and what type of information we need to message to them and communicate to them and tailor to them to get them to, LGBTQ plus cessation resources. So outside of both educational materials and the research side, we also are working on more policy efforts as well. We do not lobby. We are not allowed to lobby in that scenario, but we do give public comment from time to time, and we are looking for letters of support and looking for different ways that we can engage governmental decision makers and stakeholders just in the work that we do, whether that's information and education days or giving public comment. And then last and most importantly, we support and serve so many emerging leaders in public health, especially LGBTQ plus folks and organizations. Sorry about that. But we're really keen on community and building solidarity and community where we can. And then the last thing I'll touch on is the public health internship. So that's the position that's going to be opening up that I'm currently in right now. There's open for applications. So if any of you know of anyone or would like to share this within your network, we are currently accepting applications for the public health intern position for the academic school year. It is a way to support and serve emerging leaders in public health spaces again, but it's also just a fabulous opportunity to work both in communications and advocacy. It's such a great team. It's a small team, so it's really tight-knit and collaborative, which I've really appreciated. Yeah, I think it's a great mix of work, a great way to learn about different tobacco prevention strategies, but also learn about health disparities specific to LGBTQ plus folks in the realm of tobacco, which I at least did not know much about going into this. So again, if you want to share this opportunity, would greatly appreciate it. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Jess specifically, or if you want to know my personal experiences, I'll drop both my organization and personal email for that.
Thanks so much, Kaya. Okay, so just a little bit more on kind of what we do in terms of educating and creating. So kind of a different couple pictures here going on. Some of the different things I've been able to talk about in different spaces. So you'll kind of see in the corner bottom right there, empowering LGBTQIA students in the fight against tobacco. So again, really reaching out to different spaces within the community, within the LGBTQ plus community in LA County. We get to speak with students, we get to speak with different adults, we get to speak with, again, more of the political governmental spaces. A lot of community outreach and engagement. So that's always something that I'm really thankful for, being able to educate folks in those spaces. At the same time, we get to create the pieces and documents that we're wanting to share with folks in order to, again, highlight different experiences, being able to have, again, different connecting pieces. I talked about social drivers earlier. So again, just making connecting those dots and making that more apparent for the folks that we speak with in these different spaces. This is one of our educational documents that we created. So this was something that we definitely worked on with folks, with different stakeholders, again, different or previous subcontractors. So what I mean by subcontractors is folks who were essentially had applied for this same program and then were selected, and they helped us as far as content, feedback, even brainstorming, right? Kind of just different places that folks feel that they're, I guess, inclined to be able to help us on. So this was something that we're very proud of and that we share at all of our community engagement and outreach spaces. So yeah, this is just one example. We have more examples now, but this is one that I'm really proud of, and I think kind of, so it was the first one. As far as policy, so I did share that the West Hollywood ordinance that passed when it was previously under Equality California. So that's something that obviously is really nice to be able to look at as far as what we are trying to accomplish in the spaces that we're currently being contracted to do work in. And again, just us working with different decision makers on the left there. That was with our previous intern. We were working with the mayor of San Fernando. And again, that's a place that we're contracted to do work in. So very much trying to get the word out, very much trying to work on the policies that we are trying to pass as a part of this program. So an overview of the community engagement program. So this is it. This is where I'm going to start as far as like what the actual community engagement program entails and what that might look like for you as a possible candidate. So essentially the goals of this program are to fund individuals and or organizations. And I want to put emphasis on the fact that you can either submit an application as an organization or as an individual who's interested in building their capacity to participate in LGBTQ plus tobacco prevention efforts. This also looks like supporting our work of Out Against Big Tobacco to both prevent and reduce tobacco use and related healthcare disparities within the LGBTQ plus community. And lastly, to uplift the community within LA County specifically towards healthier commercial tobacco-free lives. And again, placing emphasis on that commercial tobacco-free lives. We do a lot of work where it integrates with Indigenous tobacco prevention work. So we are very aware of that kind of reality. So this is, I want to say, kind of what highlights the what we're specifically trying to accomplish within the community engagement program. So as far as actual numbers, dates, I know that that's probably something that folks are especially interested in. So our term, so for folks who are interested in applying, the term will begin in October and will end in June. So it's a little less than a year. These applications will be due September 5th. So that's a little less than, I think, 2 weeks. Or maybe a little more than 2 weeks. I don't know how many days are in August right now. So I think maybe a little more than 2 weeks. And we are amount or now funding folks up to $2,500 for up to 4 selected individuals and or organizations. Sorry, not up to. It will be $2,500 for up to 4 selected individuals and or organizations. Previous subcontractors are eligible to apply. I know that's a question that folks always get because different programs are, if you've already applied and done the program, you're not eligible to apply again, or at least not in the very next cohort. With our program, you are eligible to apply even if you were a previous subcontractor. So there's that link right there. If you haven't or don't already have access to it, we'll be sharing it in the chat later, and then you have more kind of slides where you're able to access it. But that is our kind of flyer letting folks know about our spaces that are open within the community engagement program. And then I guess I'll go ahead and just share with folks, and let me know if you can see this. I know sometimes you can't see when I toggle between tabs. Can we see this? Okay, cool. So whenever you open up the application, this is what it looks like. So again, we go into detail about who it involves, the purpose, very specific dates, eligibility requirements, which I'll get into a little bit more later. And then just what the scope of work looks like. So for those who are not familiar with the terminology, scope of work, that essentially means your responsibilities as a part of being a community engagement subcontractor with our program. Okay, thanks Lou, for sharing that. Yeah, and then so essentially we just have a couple of items listed as a part of what is required for you as a potential subcontractor, and then an activity that you get to choose from. So all of these are not something that you have to pick or that you'll have to do. You just have to pick one of the 4 options, but knowing that these in bold are ones that are required of you. And then just what reporting looks like, what your funding schedule looks like. So the way that we have done it in the past is you get half of your payment in the beginning, and as a result of your completing all the work that you've done with us and that you were contracted to do, you will get the second half. Okay, and then again, application requirements, which I'll go in through the slides, but that's essentially what the application looks like. When you open up the actual application, as far as like submitting an application, so I guess this is the listing, I guess I should say. And then when you submit the application online, you'll actually be with this screen. And then you'll apply as an individual or as an organization/agency. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and go back on the presentation. Do I have any questions thus far? I want to make sure that we're all getting a breather, not being bombarded with too much information at once. And if folks have a question right now, you're more than welcome to ask that. If not, I can go ahead and move on. Okay, so if you're wondering whether or not you are eligible, okay. So yes, individuals and organizations are welcome to apply. If selected, we are going to require individuals to submit a W-9, and for organizations needing to upload a 501c3 letter. So that's if you're selected. Moving forward, these other items are required, so an EIN or tax ID number. Community members and allies who are committed to serving the LGBTQ plus community. So we do ask a couple of questions within the application about what is your experience with working with the LGBTQ plus community, because we do like to kind of see whether or not that's something that you're familiar with, understanding that the community is, I want to say, and again, I say this because I'm a part of the community myself, but I do think that it is a little different than working with, the broader population, I guess. And then also you may already be currently CTPP funded. So this is something for folks who already work in CTPP spaces. You may already be currently funded. That is something that's not it's not like a disqualifier as a part of this program. You must also be based in LA County. So for example, if you're an organization, your organization must be based in LA County. I know that some folks work at an organization, don't live in LA County. I know that how that might be a little confusing, but as long as where your organization does their work and or is based is in LA County, that's more than you're more than welcome to apply. And as an individual, you must be based, therefore you must reside right in LA County. So a couple of different ways. Also going to take a second here because I know folks are very curious about the eligibility. So if folks have any questions or any clarifying questions about eligibility requirements. Okay. So what do your actual responsibilities look like? So this involves being an active member of the California LGBTQ Health and Human Services Network. And as a reminder, Out Against Big Tobacco is a program under California LGBTQ Health and Human Services Network. So again, the requirements are to attend at least 3 network calls. We host these monthly on a monthly basis, every second Thursday of each month. So again, because this program starts in October, we're going to start, I guess, to count the numbers of meetings that you attend in November. So November 13th, and Lou or Ari, correct me if I'm wrong, that would be the first call that subcontractors are able to attend. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe
Okay.
so.
Okay, cool. I know last time I got it wrong, so I wanted to make sure I got it right this time. Providing 1 to 2 updates. So at these network calls, we are always excited when our subcontractors get to speak a little bit on their work. And this does not have to be tobacco prevention related. So I know folks, it might make more sense for folks like, oh, if I'm a subcontractor for this program, I should probably mention like tobacco prevention work that I'm doing. There are plenty of spaces for that to happen. So it does not necessarily need to be about the tobacco prevention work that you're doing with us. It could also be an opportunity for you to speak about your own organization, your own work. Assist in at least 1 community event. So this might vary depending on which option you choose to ultimately hone in on and help us with. And I'll go in a little bit more detail about what that means in the following slide or 2. And then lastly, participate in 1 entrance and 1 exit interview. This is I want to say very low maintenance. It might sound kind of like grandiose, I don't know. It's very low maintenance. Essentially, we're just kind of asking what you expect the program to look like. And then the exit interview will be what was your experience with the program. And this just really helps us with feedback, gauge folks' overall experience and kind of what might be better, some room for improvement. So yeah, very low maintenance as far as what the requirements are. And we did make sure to kind of match this up with the stipend that comes along with this program. So in addition to the required responsibilities, you do have to choose one of the following options. So this is what I mean by depending on right here, kind of assisting at least 1 community event. We try to tailor it more to the option you choose. So this kind of gives us an insight as to what you're really interested in, maybe where your expertise is kind of like helps you to shine in these spaces, right? So one of the first options is to attend and assist Out Against Big Tobacco staff on planning 1 to 2 events. So again, kind of just looking at capacity. We're always trying to be mindful and thoughtful of capacity for folks. So sometimes planning an event, it might be virtual, depending if it's in person. If folks have any experience with that, you might know already that it kind of the effort changes depending on whether it's virtual or in person. And we tend to have a good variety of either. So we do ask for folks choosing this option to be prepared to help us to plan at least 1 to 2 events. The second option is to help us specifically and engagement efforts. So this looking like from 2 to 3 local community events such as Pride Parades. The reason why that's kind of a little bit of a higher number is because we pretty much manage everything as far as applying to these different Pride Parades or Pride events. We're the ones that we bring everything as far as like tabling resources, all of our own specific educational documents, essentially. And we do provide, and I should mention this, we also provide folks with the Pride ticket, right? I know for some folks, you have to pay for the ticket to be able to attend the Pride event. We also pay for that, and we pay for mileage. And we also pay for, depending on how many hours you are at this event, because I know sometimes they can be really long. Like I just went to one that was from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. So that's an 8-hour event. With those kind of hours, we do provide a meal. So again, because we are able to provide all these other things, we do ask for folks, essentially with this option, you're just attending the events. We do ask for a little bit of a higher, I guess, attendance number. So yeah, that would be 2 to 3 local community events. And then for option 3, I should say, assisting staff with the development of at least 2 LGBTQ+ tobacco related educational materials, such as fact sheets and/or videos. For this one, experience in communications and or digital art design is required. And we just find that that's because we're able to kind of focus on the material development specifically as opposed to kind of the entire process. So that's something that's, I know that folks are genuine, you tend to be really interested in when they have that kind of background. And again, that's kind of gonna look like brainstorming, gonna look like feedback, gonna look like helping with consumer testing, those kinds of things. And I don't know if Lou or Ari, you wanted to speak a little bit more about what that might look like. Because I know, like, again, I'm not a comms person, so I kind of see the broad overview, but maybe Lou or Ari, if you wanted to speak a little bit on what that option looks like.
Sorry, Ari, did you want to go ahead or did you want?
I can, yeah, I don't mind. Jess, you pretty much covered most of it. The only other thing I was gonna add to was just, with actually creating the education material, helping us with the actual like content and writing of the language itself is also, helpful if it was something like a fact sheet or, a trifold document. And always welcome, new different processes for that. Like, I don't want to say that there's only one set way of how we go about creating these because folks work in a lot of different ways, especially creatively with, either videos or other social media toolkits and stuff. So all that to say, we're always looking for, other creative ideas and how to engage our communities into this work since, like I mentioned earlier, tobacco prevention isn't always at the top of mind for our communities, but yeah, that's why it's really integral and or that's why it's really important that we have you all involved in creating this as well. So yeah, that's the only other thing I'd add, but I think you covered. It's just thanks.
Thank you. See, I knew there were specific words that I was like missing out, like graphic, would you say graphic content? I don't know, something like that. And honestly, maybe I should know these words, but again, because I feel like I just trust my communications folks that much, I'm like, okay, let me look at what we need. Okay, so yeah, that's what the communications option looks like. For number 4, option 4, this is a little bit more of like, I guess, a broader option in that we are asking folks to help with policy oriented work in the cities of San Fernando or Signal Hill on at least 2 different instances. So this is going to look like if folks have done like public comment, this is going to look like meeting with decision makers, again, to educate specifically, not lobby. So if folks are more interested in policies, and to happen a lot with like our interns, for example, and sometimes our subcontractors. So we did want to include that this time around, just to make sure that folks are, if they're more interested in the policy side of things, that we have that opportunity for folks who are interested. Okay, so I have any questions on the options? And again, how these are, you do not have to choose, or you do not have to do all of them. It would just look like choosing one of these, whereas the other required responsibilities are that required. Okay. So just to go into a little bit more, I guess, detail about what each option looks like. So again, planning and hosting an event. This typically looks like a tobacco awareness day for us. It tends to be a lot of, I want to say, like, for me at least, right? Not necessarily for the folks who are helping on planning, but for me, it tends to be more of a heavy lift. So it is something that I like to put in our community engagement program because I know folks really just thrive and shine when it comes to event planning. And while that was not necessarily my forte, I do also enjoy it, but it can be a lot of work, especially for those who have been also involved in kind of event planning as a part of their roles. So this is just an example of what we've done in the past, both in person, done where we specifically highlighted artists' work. Our more recent one was a virtual tobacco awareness day. I really, really loved that one because we really got to highlight and showcase different folks's just expertise in the field of tobacco prevention. We got to talk about body image, we talked about racial justice issues, especially kind of with that tobacco prevention lens. So really looking at unique ways in which we can combat tobacco-related health disparities within the LGBTQ plus community. Option 2, again, if you can recall, it was outreach and engagement. So this looks like participating at Pride events, Pride parades. So just a couple of different pictures of what that looks like and how, again, that can vary, especially within the community. I know a lot of our different events, people get creative. So it's really nice to be able to join in on those and have representation for our program. Development of educational materials, again, highlighting our trifold, which essentially talks about what we do, how to get involved, what do the disparities within tobacco use look like amongst the LGBTQ plus community. We have more recent educational materials that focus on the Latina experience, also the ACE experience, and again, how that is interrelated with overall, again, tobacco-related health disparities. Engage in policy-oriented work. So one thing that we are required to do, I guess the program is required to do, is attend something that's called informational and educational days. So this is an opportunity to be able to talk to policy makers or decision makers at the state capitol. So we are able to one option is to be able to attend that alongside us. And just to be able, again, to educate folks on the tobacco prevention work that is much needed within the jurisdictions that we're working in. So kind of at a glance, something that I wanted to ensure that folks kind of get in the broader picture about what will be offered to you as a potential subcontractor under this program. So getting the training to be able to understand, again, just what does the field of tobacco prevention look like, community engagement program guide. So again, kind of a guide to help you understand, one, what the program is while you're in the program, but also to understand kind of the overall goals and how that might help you as a program, as an individual, as an organization. Offering plenty of networking opportunities depending on the option that you choose. We're always trying to involve different stakeholders in our work. So there are plenty of opportunities for you to come across different organizations, different people that might actually kind of, that you might find working with later on. Publicity about your own organization and again yourself if you're applying as an individual, because we do offer different opportunities for you to be able to speak on your work, again, outside of tobacco prevention and the work that you're doing with us. Funding, obviously this is a paid opportunity. It's not something that we're looking for like volunteers. It's a paid opportunity, and that's really important to us, and I would hope for other people too. Leadership development, so again, just being able to build kind of that foundation to be able to be really confident in this area, in this specific like nuanced area. And our idea is to really help kind of uplift other spaces in which you're kind of publicly speaking, attending public events, that sort of thing. Pride tickets, so again, something that I mentioned earlier, that if you choose the option of outreach and engagement efforts, that is something that we pay for. So you're able to attend these events and also more than welcome to bring your own educational materials or resources that you might already have as a part of if you're applying as an organization. And then lastly, experience, being able to work within community, being able to work within that specified option, just gives you that much more opportunity to build on, whichever area of expertise that you are trying to build upon. So that's kind of at a glance what is offered to you as a subcontractor. Okay. Okay, so we are here to help, and I really want to emphasize this, that we do provide, well, not provide, but well, I mean, yeah, provide, but like we do make it a point to be able to check in. I like to check in with my subcontractors at least monthly to make sure that we're all on the same page, to make sure that you're feeling supported. Orientation, so once we choose our candidates, that will be, I want to say the date is September 3rd, is that when we release who has been selected. So the onboarding and kind of the beginning of the program will be in October. Again, monthly check-ins to ensure that you are being supported, and then access to all of our staff and networks. Okay, and then how to apply. So how to actually apply, and after this, there should be about 10 minutes left for questions, but I want to say this is, yeah, okay. So how to apply. So just ensuring that you're reading the eligibility requirements carefully. All of that is available on the application listing itself. Completing, excuse me, and answer all questions thoroughly. So one thing I do want to emphasize is ensuring that you're answering the questions thoroughly. In the past, we have received like very brief sentences that don't necessarily give us the entire scope of like your background and how your work applies to kind of the questions that we're asking in order to get a better idea of where you're coming from, what your goals are with the program. So that's something I really want to emphasize, is just to answer as thoroughly as you can. Submitting the application online. So this must include, again, the completed online application, and for organizations, your EIN or tax ID number. And again, if you look at the application listing itself, you'll see that there's a couple of other things, but I wanted to emphasize that we really do need these things. And then lastly, the applications must be received no later than 11:59 p.m. on September 5th. So again, that's like T minus 15 days, I want to say, I think. Okay. And then, yeah, and then so just our previous subcontractors, that's just the question part, but our previous subcontractors have been Latino Equality Alliance, APAT, so that's Access to Prevention, Advocacy, Intervention, and Treatment, Capacito Consulting, Cross Cultural Expressions, and this was just our previous cohort. We've had other folks that have been able to work with us, other individuals that we're really proud of, and just really proud of the work that came to fruition out of working with, you know, everyone. Yeah, so I think, yeah, this is the time if you have any questions. Just again, the flyer for being able to access the application itself, the amount, deadlines, what does the duration of the program again look like at a glance. But I hope that this presentation has been helpful in answering most of your questions. Otherwise, this would be a good time to go ahead and ask those, even if it's the most simple question. Yeah, Patrick.
Hi, yeah, thanks so much for the presentation. This helps a lot just to understand what the RFA looks like. And my question was mostly just around the specific budget. I guess for the 2,500, is that more so like a stipend to do the work, or is that something that are there like expectations around, you know, utilizing the 2,500 toward you know, like specific things, like getting a tablecloth for an event if we were like doing catering,
yeah, no, yeah, no, that's sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No.
Okay, so yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, so you're not required to purchase anything on you as your kind of like you know, as your role as a subcontractor. So you're not required to purchase anything. It's not necessarily to fulfill anything in order to be a subcontractor. Know that money is entirely for you as a part of completing the work.
Okay, understood. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. Now I feel like maybe I should put that in a future presentation because that was a really good question. Okay, any other folks with questions? And again, no silly questions. I'm here to answer them. Okay. If not, if you find that you have questions after the matter, if you're like, oh wait, I should have asked that, I'll go ahead and drop my email in the chat. We have this flyer. I can send up a follow-up email. I want to say this was in the email though I sent out for the original, you know, just that kind of that we're hosting this informational webinar. I'm trying to think, anything that I missed possibly. You have access to the other folks. Oh, thank you, Patrick. You have access to the other folks who were on this call, Ari, Lou, Kaya. But yeah, so if folks don't have any other questions, I'll go ahead and end here. We have a recording just in case, you know, folks want to access that later. And then just a final kind of like, you know, reminder is that the applications are due September 5th, no later than 11:59 p.m. We've had folks in the past that have submitted after that, and we just cannot accept them. I will say though, that was probably like, we probably should close it off, but yeah, we cannot accept them after that specific time. So yeah, so go ahead and get those applications in, and we look forward to reading them. And yeah, thank you all for attending.